Hi everyone, I'm Andras, and today I would like to talk to you about commodity fetishism, which is a very important and hard to understand concept in Karl Marx's works. To examine commodity fetishism, first we need to examine its two parts. First, what is a commodity, and second, what is fetishism in this case. Commodity is a man-made thing which created exactly to be exchanged in a market for money. So if you see around yourself, probably if you are not in the nature, probably you will see many things which are commodities. You will see glasses, tables. You are watching this on a computer or in a phone. These are all commodities. These are all man-made objects which created exactly to be exchanged. And we have money, which is a special kind of commodity. We can call it commodity, but it measures the value or the price of every other commodities. We have a very real thing for every commodities, which is the same for every commodities, namely it has a price. It has different values, it has different qualities, it has to fulfill these qualities, it has to be useful for me or for other people who wants to buy it. But nevertheless, all of them has a price. And then we come to the second thing, we come to the fetishism. Fetishism is not connected to sexuality or not even connected to thing with what we really desire as a thing. Fetishism is a divine object, is a magical object. If we have a fetish, we have something which has an intelligence in itself. It's an object, but it can affect the life of people. It can affect the nature around itself. Fetish is a kind of a living being without really being a living being. A totem, for example, it's a fetish. It's a very good example for fetish because it can punish you, it can give you presents, it can alter your future, it can do many things. But of course, today we think that totems don't have these powers. We think that totems, it's an absurd thing to think that totems can actually modify the life of the person. So when we have these two things, commodity and fetishism, actually we made these commodities, these cars, these glasses, these tables, laptops and keys and everything around us, these kind of fetishes, we think they have some kind of intelligence, or even not intelligence, but they have some kind of power which can control our life. But how is it? If we see in one object, if we see in even a computer or even a house which is very big and important, we cannot see this. We cannot see this thing as a totem alone. But since I said all of these commodities around us has some kind of price, all of them, there is no real exception for this. These objects, these commodities, has social relations between them. We can say that one thing worth an X number of another thing. For example, I don't know, a car worth 1,000 books, or 2 eggs worth 1 kilogram of bread or something like that. We can say this, and we can say this everything because everything has a price tag, and through money we can understand the social relations very easily. And when we see on this object, we see its price, we see its some kind of value which can only be examined through the connection with other things. then we forget that these things are made by men. These things are made by us. Maybe even it can be possible that these things is even made by me, and then someone resell it to me. I have to pay in my own work, but most of the time we have to pay for other people's work, and this is a very, very important thing to understand, because while the things itself has a value, the person who made it and the person's work which created this value is very obscure for us. We don't know about it. We cannot see it. We cannot really feel it. We don't know anything about this thing. When I create a table for myself, when I create anything for myself, I know this value. I know the work hours or work minutes or the thinking to it. But when I buy a commodity, I don't know anything about this. I don't know that someone maybe even died to produce this. For me, I don't know. I cannot imagine that these things can happen. I'm very indifferent, and I cannot compare them. I cannot compare to the other people who actually made these objects. I cannot compare to the people, but I can very much compare myself to these objects, because for me these objects are real. For me these objects are living, while the other people who made these things, they are not living. They are not even existing. So through this type of production, Marx said that the social relations between things, social relations between commodities, create economic relations between people. While I think on the other side, it's also true that economic relations between things will create social relations between people. Every commodity, we don't think that commodities as commodities are special, but in this system we can only interact with these commodities, and to interact with these commodities, the most interesting thing is that we have to make ourselves commodities. If I want to buy an apple, if I want to buy a glass, if I want to buy anything, I have to become something with a price tag. I have to get money. I have to get money somewhere. So I have to make myself a commodity to interact with commodities. I have to devaluate myself. Every people have to devaluate themselves to interact with the reality of life, and this so-called reality of life are the commodities around us, and not the people, not the nature, not the physical relations, since we cannot if we say that, for example, a commodity has a value, we don't know what is that value exactly. Sometimes, and most of the time, it's not really from its material or materialistic qualities. It's from their social qualities, what we arrange to them. This is basically the concept of commodity fetishism, which is, I think, it's very hard to understand, and also very hard to get rid of it. But today we are living in a society which is based on these things, based on this idea, for if I can say this. So commodity fetishism is the way of living, is the way of thinking. In capitalism, we have to create commodities. We have to make things as commodities, because we can, if we are commodities, if we are dead things, and we animate dead things, we animate things to be living, then we can only interact them if they are commodities, if I can pay for them. So even, of course, there is a lot of privatization, because the capitalists want to get higher margin of profit, but it's also because within capitalist thinking, everything has to have a price. If it doesn't have a price, then we cannot really make a connection with it. We as commodities cannot make a connection with something which is not a commodity. And for example, we can, if when we want to escape from this commodity fetishism, then if we want to give something a gift, then we remove the price tag from it. And of course it has some thing like, we don't want to know that person to know the price of it, but also we want to remove it from this commodity fetishism. We want to make it personal, or we create for something for that person. We want to give gifts. Then we want to remove this from commodity fetishism, from this capitalistic logic of human relations between each other and human relations for the world. And I think if we want to build another society, if we want to build a better society, then this is a very important note for that we have to remove as many things as possible from this commodity fetishism. I think we can do it. I think another world is possible. So let's work on that together.